He's got that core. All right. So I'm going to be turning this mic over to you, Miki Kersgard. This mic is all yours.
Okie dokie. Thank you, Lynn. Thanks everybody who's been on already this morning. I'm having a wacky day. I don't know about the rest of you. I'm waiting on a repair guy to come fix a windshield on the car. And probably he's going to show up or text or call right in the middle of this. So I apologize if there's an interruption. We'll see what happens. Who knows? But it's been a funny morning so far. Lots of good stuff going on. We listened to Michael Singer do some really great stuff on fear and desire, which I'm going to try and work in a little bit. Fears and desires, they kind of run us, and but fear and desire is only of the ego. So we're all making it up as we go along. But I am going to first try and, oh, hello, mosquito, or whatever you are. Goodbye. I'm going to try and settle in here and start off with a prayer. Holy Spirit, this holy instant, this eternal now, would I give to you. Be you in charge, not me, not the ego, not anyone who I think I am. Be you in charge, for I would follow you, certain that your direction gives me peace. And Holy Spirit, if there are words to say, let us say them. If there are thoughts to think, let us think them. And if there is love to give, oh boy, howdy, let us give it. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and amen. So, when last we spoke, I was, this was a couple of weeks ago, I guess. I was talking about Betty in the back seat and how Betty Betty seems to be behind me all the time, giving a color commentary on my life and what I'm doing wrong and what I should have done and where I should have been and where I should go and what I shouldn't do. And that was fun and funny, and a couple of people who I know have really grabbed onto Betty in the back seat, and it's much easier to distance ourselves from that commentary of thoughts that's always going on by giving them over to a different name or a different personality or a different identity. And friend of mine watched the video from that week and wrote a lovely comment back to me saying, well, at least she's in the back seat and she's not driving the car. And that is really good progress. And I think that that made me feel so great, because you got to give yourself credit for at least not letting ego drive the car and not letting the ego take complete control. And I had a thought after I read that of, yep, at least I'm driving the car now and not Betty. But it'll be even better when Holy Spirit's driving the car and I'm not even trying to take over from that. And so I don't have a lot planned for today. I was just going to go back through my journal here and see what what I've been thinking about over the last couple of weeks. Um, One thing that one of the Ken Wapnick audios that we listened to in the morning was talking about was looking at, oh, look, here's a text. Nope, not from the car people. Uh, Looking at content and not form. and it had to do with the lessons. And I read the lessons every morning with a couple of friends of mine, and we read Ken's commentary on it. And I finally got it when he was talking about look at the content of the lesson, not the form. If it says you're supposed to, like yesterday, say the name of God, and it all of a sudden dawned on me that it's not that I'm supposed to say God every minute or God every 15 minutes or God every hour and just sit there going, God, 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 God. That's the form. The content is if I am putting aside Betty, if I'm putting Betty aside, if she's not even in the car and I am just being there with spirit and being completely letting go of control and be in communication with God and spirit, that is the content. The form of the lesson counts much less than, thank you, Gloria. The form of the content, the form of the lesson shouldn't be, then it becomes a ritual, like Ken talks about. It becomes this rote thing that we don't even think about. But if we're thinking about God, I know the lesson says say the name of God, but really what it's talking about is owning God, owning the God within us, owning spirit within us, listening to the right mind. When we are truly being led, that is the content. And so we don't have to, you know, beat ourselves up if we didn't do if we think we didn't do the lesson right. Are we forgiving ourselves if we didn't? And are we practicing forgiveness all day? A friend of mine has some physical problems, like a lot of us do. And when she's feeling stressed out about it, she says a prayer, Holy Spirit, can I be absent from the body and present with you? And that presence is what we talked about a lot over this past weekend when I attended the Keith Kavanaugh retreat that he did with ACIM St. Louis. And the whole weekend he talked about two things mainly and worked with people a lot on them. About one was can I and I'm trying to think how did I take this in and how can I explain it? Am I he talks a lot about are you meing? Are you being the me right now? Are you being the little me? And he also calls it selfing. Are you selfing as opposed to being the I? Being the I, and a lot of us like to call it the I am. Are you being the I am presence of God in your life? Um, and, and and it occurred to me somewhere during the weekend, and I don't know if I can express how profound this was, but I realized, and I know we talk about it all the time, but it was just something that came in like a lightning bolt to me. The I that I am, when we say the I that I am is the exact same I that you are. There's only one I. There's only one I am. And I know we say this, and I knew it intellectually, But all of a sudden, it was like I got chills when I realized there's just one I, and that is the I that I am. And so, how can I condemn a brother? How can I judge anyone when the I that I am is the exact same I that they are? It just, I can't tell you how big it felt when I realized that it's the same I. We cannot differentiate. We can, and that's why the Course says we can't judge. Because if I'm saying you're wrong, then I'm saying I'm wrong because we're both the same I. It just, it just really, it just really got to me um, that 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 I, we read in the Course. There's a lot of instances where there's the small s self and the capital S self. And I think that prior to that, having that experience with the I thought of the holy self or the higher self or the capital S self was me with a little halo on top. It was holy Miki. It was, it was, it was a higher, holier, purer version of myself, of little me, of little Miki. And it's not. That capital S self is the I am. It is the only thing that we are. And it just really landed this past weekend. Um, so that was a pretty big deal for me. The other thing that Keith talked about a lot was, um, can you let all things be exactly as they are? And we've been traveling this little road that I've been on together with my eye surgeries, and it's been a while now that I've been dealing with this, and I was really fighting it. And at some point over the weekend, I realized I had to let all things be exactly as they are. And gradually over those 3 days, it stopped bugging me. It stopped affecting me that, maybe my vision wasn't what I expected it to be after these surgeries, and that things were not quite the way the way we think they ought to be. Um, and I just let go. I just let go of it. And it's really funny because, we talk about this being a classroom, and how we learn best when we have these challenges, and how it can't really be a classroom if something's not going on. Just as soon as I let all of the eye stuff go, in came a back spasm. I'm like, you're kidding me, aren't you? That is a riot. We, but I have spent a couple of days now with it, experiencing some significant pain. And I'm like, I'm just going to let this be exactly as it is. And I could fight it. I could be pissed off about it. I could, you know, gripe about it to all my friends. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to let it be exactly as it is. And am I going to take a Tylenol? Yeah, I am. But I'm still going to let it be exactly as it is. And so those were some things that came in over the weekend. God, I've got a lot of notes here that I took from the key thing. And oh, one thing, and that let all things be exactly as they are. What is that? And it became this beautiful progression of when you are in complete allowance of all things being exactly as they are. That is forgiveness. That is true forgiveness. I'm like, okay, that's acceptance. Acceptance and allowance equal forgiveness. And that allowance and acceptance and forgiveness are the atonement. And I know in traditional language, we like to say the atonement is realizing that the separation never happened, but it became much more significant for me when I followed that trail of acceptance, allowance, forgiveness, atonement. And it, I can't really tell you how freeing that was to realize that's the atonement. When I can let go of everything and go into complete acceptance, it felt like the holy instant. It was a holy instant. That letting go of wanting anything to be any different than what it was. So that was pretty good. I also wanted to talk about an experience. I had a lot of experiences in the last couple of weeks. We need some catching up, friends. I had, and I don't know if I can explain this one at all in words, but I'm going to give it a shot. I had this mystical experience of the primal first fear and the terror that it caused in me was um it, you've heard of people saying it was so painful it was exquisite. This was so profoundly terrifying it was exquisite. And I thought, now I get it. Now, oh wow, I finally get it. So this is the analogy, and it came like kind of movie in my head. Um, Imagine yourself being a 5 or 6 year old kid, and there you are in the house, and mom and dad won't let you stay up for another TV show, and it's night out, and they're like, you have to go to bed, it's late. And you go stomping up to your room and you pack your little backpack with whatever you think you need, your cookies and your flashlight and your pen and whatever some 6 year old is going to take. And you go stomping down the stairs and you go out the front door and you slam the door and say, that's it, I'm running away. And you get down the front steps and you hear that door lock behind you. You go, oh shit, what have I just done? And you turn around on the sidewalk and you look, and the house isn't there anymore. You can't go back. It's gone. And there you are, you're a little kid. And the terror. Can you imagine being a little kid, doing that little kid runaway thing? I'm leaving home. the door slams behind you, the door locks, and the house disappears. And I just, wow, and that's how we felt. I'm going to separate from God. I'm going to create something on my own. The door slammed, heaven disappeared, and then we didn't know any way to get back in. And then we forgot where the door was, how to get back in. That's the fear. That is the fear that went on that had to create all of this. And that's the fear that we live with. Whenever Lynn was playing a Michael Singer tape before this, and he talked about replacing fear and desire with love and inspiration. That's what it's called, if anybody wants to go look it up. And desires are born out of that fear, that primal fear that we've felt. You know, whew, it, it was crazy. And desires are born out of fear, and fear and desires are what is running the show with the ego. And as long as we're still here looking and seeing a world out there and believing we're in a body with a separate identity, there's still that undercurrent. And that's what we have to let go of. And that is what we need to give ourselves acceptance for and forgiveness for, and when we allow all of that. And Rafi put in his mantra, yes, fear, yes, I welcome you, yes, I allow you to go. When we do that allowance and acceptance, we're chipping away at that primal fear that happened in that moment. Oh, yay, Lynn just put the link to that Michael Singer lecture that she played. You should grab that link in the chat, and maybe we'll put this in under the YouTube if I can figure out how to edit those YouTube things. We'll put the link to it underneath there. Yeah, that's what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with that little kid primal fear that we all felt, even not just in that moment of separation, but there were times when we were little kids where something scared the bejesus out of us, and we're all dealing with that undercurrent, and we've got to allow it and let it up. At first, we've got to acknowledge it, and then we have to allow it, and then we have to let it go. And these are the things that run us when we think we're living in this world, until we can totally drop the ego completely. These are the things that run us. So we're all motivated. We're all motivated to let go of that. What else did I write down here? Let me see. I took so many good notes in that. Keith talks a lot about the holy place where thoughts can enter not. We are the holy place where thoughts can enter not. Oh boy, I had to get readers because the eyes didn't get fixed for reading. They got fixed for distance. One of the things, so here's some notes that I took from the weekend. We first recognize that we're meing. that we're being a me. And then we let the stories go. So we first recognize that we have that primal fear, that we think we're separate, that we're not connected to that I am. And we have to recognize it and acknowledge it. And then we have to let the story of what's going on with the me go. So we have to let the stories go and be fully in the present, because only in the now can we recognize what's going on and address it. We can't let something go if we're not staying in the now and in the present. And then we have to look at the thoughts that are coming in and recognize them and not try and change them. And I like to say that the thing that we don't do with the ego, we don't try and fix it. We don't try and figure it out. There's another F I have, and now I can't remember what it was. The only thing that we can do with the ego is forgive it. There's a whole lineup of F's. Don't try and fix it. Don't try and figure it out. Just forgive it. Oh, here comes another text. Nope, not the car people. Dang. And that's why, oh, I love it. As I was sitting there when he was talking about the I and the I am, and that we're all the same I, Karen's voice popped into my head and said, only equals are at peace. Only equals are at peace. And that's why only when we are connected to that I am, and only when we realize that that I am is the same I am that I am, are we equal. Are we aware of how equal we are? That nothing, there is no separation because it's all one I. We can't be separate. It's all that one I. And when we realize that, we know that only equals can be at peace. Only the I can be at peace. So, let's see, we've got about another half hour. So, and there was a lesson that I wanted to look at because we are all at home in the I am. And so I wanted to read. Oh, Karen's got her hand up. Go ahead, Karen.
Well, first of all, honey, I just want to say this is amazing teaching, sharing today. I'm so loving it. I mean, you really learned a lot of great things and experienced some amazing stuff. I mean, really wonderful. And I could feel, man, that analogy of the child leaving home. Oh my, talk about the prodigal son. I mean, that was scarier. I mean, that was frightening. That was really,
It
I
was
felt, oh my God.
it was terrifying. I felt in my body the fear, that terrifying fear. It was amazing.
Very, very, very good analogy. And also I loved all you said about the, complete allowance and forgiveness. And, the course does talk about that in the manual for teachers in manual 22 in, I forget what it's called, healing and the atonement or something like that. And he really basically says that it's all the same: healing, forgiveness, salvation. It's all the same. It's all, that complete healing the mind, which is the complete allowance and allowing everything to be exactly as it is, as you were saying. But the other thing I wanted to share, what Ken says, which really helps me, which is basically what Keith said. But the one thing Ken says, that yes, we don't try to change the ego. We don't try to fix the ego. we first look at it and we look at it with that gentleness, without judgment. And then it actually just does go away because we give ourselves a pass. As Sharon always says, give yourself a pass. You know, that gentleness, that loving kindness, just there's something about it, that's acceptance, and once we can do that, I know from my experience doing that and not beating myself up and saying, oh, it should be different and you should be doing this and you should be doing that. No, it's a gentleness, it's that gentle looking, that's the forgiveness. And then it does go away because we see that we made the whole thing up, and then we give ourselves that break. But everything you said was just so hit me, like it really hit me. I could relate to all of it. And I love how Keith, I don't listen to Keith that much, but I know he teaches a lot of what he learned from Ken. And that's what I can relate to when he does share, because it's all the same and it's all just so relatable. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Yeah, thanks. It's so much more profound when we can have an experience with it. When something comes in, and both of those instances, the one with the fear and the one with the I am, were, I've thought about these things for years now. We've read about them, and discussed them in all of our sessions and our classes and people's teachings. And this is not new material. I know that. But the difference was that that visceral sense, that feeling that I got, that, and it's weird to me because we're not these bodies. We're not the body. We're the mind. Another thing that that we've been reading about for years and that we know and we've internalized. But it was the weird thing was how I felt it in my body. So I'm not a body, but it became way more real for me when I felt that this feeling went through my body. When I felt that fear, the feeling went through my body. When I felt that oneness, when all of a sudden I felt I felt the I am that we all are. And it it just became a one, and I felt it in my body, which is the weirdest part because I'm not this body, but go figure. Rafi's got his hand up. Go ahead, Rafi.
Yeah, I was looking at the ego thing, and quite often it used to happen a lot. It doesn't happen hardly anymore. But uh, my mind, in my mind, I would hear a voice saying, "Be careful how you're going up the stairs. Somebody's going to watch you. You got to do it perfectly." Be careful. Yeah, don't sneeze too loud. Somebody's going to say gesundheit, then you're going to have to deal with them. Uh, don't release too loud. People are going to ask you what you're doing. They're going to comment on it, or they're going to confront you. Don't do. And then there's nobody out there. Nobody out there. Okay, it's just this thing going on in my head, and I looked at it and said, Where are these people you're talking about, mind? Where are these people? Where they are? They are. It's only the so I got to forgive it, Father. It knows not what it does, and chuckle a little, and then bring up. And if and one of the nice things is you could use it as a trigger, because if it brings up a fear or a lacking feeling or a wanting feeling to let go, then I can get a hold of it. And you always feel it in my body. I usually feel it in my gut or in my chest, and then I open up an imaginary space, because it's all imaginary anyway. You open up an imaginary space and let that feeling go. It came up to leave anyway. So there's the benefit. Look for the benefit in everything. Yeah, even the ego is presenting opportunities that it doesn't know it's presenting. If you look at it, if you stand back and look at it, don't identify with it. Um, and as for that experience that you've had, I've had transcendent experiences myself, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Yesterday, I was on a podcast by Mandy, who used to do the poetry things on Monday mornings, and we were talking about transcendent experiences, and most of us have had them to one degree or another. And what you described was just great. I have difficulty describing the transcendent experiences I have because there's no words for it. Mind can't possibly, the ego mind can't possibly know what I am. And so if it brings up a feeling of ignorance or resistance to something, then I just get a hold of the feeling and let it go because it came up to leave. But um, everything that you've said today has just been right on the mark. Just terrific. What a blessing. Thank you.
Thanks, Rafi. Yeah, sometimes we can find the words to describe these things, and sometimes we can't. But we we try our best. But that's really funny that you should bring up, uh, watch out how you walk up the stairs. Somebody, you have to do it perfectly. That's probably your training as an actor that brought that on, because you people people are watching you, the camera is watching you, even, and it's going to be recorded for all eternity. God forbid. So that's really funny, you should bring that up. But yeah, yeah, those experiences, they're not easy to describe. And I think I did the best I could, but I still don't think I words can describe exactly what I felt, because
It's
it,
just
it
beyond
was
words. It's beyond mind. It's
it
beyond
was yeah, it was so profound.
reality.
So I was guided this morning to this lesson. We just went over it not too long ago. What lesson are we on today? I can't even remember. Ugh,
184.
184. So this was just a couple of days ago. Thank you, Karen. Uh, I will be still an instant and go home, lesson 182, because all of those things that happened to me, those transcendent experiences only happen when we really get still, when we're not being busy, when we allow spirit to work with us and through us. Um, they they can come through, and we can go home and have that holy instant. So I don't know if we'll get through the whole thing in this amount of time, but we'll give it a shot. And gosh, I love this lesson. I say that for every lesson I read, don't I? This world you seem to live in is not home to you. And boy, did I discover that when I had that movie play out in my head about that fear thing, that the place that we went to after that door slammed and the house disappeared is not our home. This world you seem to live in is not home to you. And somewhere in your mind, you know that this is true. A memory of home keeps haunting you, as if there were a place that called you to return. Yeah, we know where we belong. We belong in the mind of God. Although you do not recognize the voice, nor what it is the voice reminds you of, yet still you feel an alien here from somewhere all unknown. And how often do you guys remember when we used to talk about, oh, we must have alien, star seed stuff in us because we don't feel at home here. Or, I those aren't, when we're little kids, those aren't my real parents. I must have some real parents somewhere else, because I don't feel at home here. Um, Lots of people these days are going through really big problems with their bodies and feeling like they were born with the wrong gendered body because we don't feel at home here. All of the problems that we have 90% of the time can be brought back into we don't feel at home here. We're uncomfortable, we're discontent, we have desires, we have fears. Go look at that Michael Singer video. It was awesome. And let's see, I wrote down the name just in case we don't have the link in there for those of you who watch this later on. It's Michael Singer, and it's called Replacing Fear and Desire with Love and Inspiration. So you can look that up on YouTube. Yet still you feel an alien here from somewhere all unknown. Nothing so definite that you could say with certainty you are an exile here. Just a persistent feeling, sometimes not more than a tiny throb, at other times hardly remembered, actively dismissed, but surely to return to mind again. We're always thinking we're in the wrong place, and that's because we are. We belong in heaven with God. We belong in the mind of God. We belong in the I am because that's who we really are. No one but knows whereof we speak. Yet some try to put by their suffering in games they play to occupy their time and keep their sadness from them. And don't we get busy? Don't we get busy all the time? We're avoiding the holy instant. We don't get still a moment. We don't have those transcendent experiences because we're uncomfortable and we think we're not at home, and we get busy trying to distract ourselves from those thoughts. Others will deny they are sad. Those are the bliss ninnies. Others will deny that they are sad and do not recognize their tears at all. And Lynn and I were talking earlier, and I was reminded that Ken says in a lot of the audios that we listen to and in a lot of his workshops, he would say, if you think you're happy here, this is not your path. This is not your course. You know, if you're completely content, this is not the course for you. Karen's got her hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's so funny. I have a little note here next to that. Others will deny that they are sad and do not recognize their tears at all. I have next to it Bliss Mini KW because it just cracks me up. I want to just keep reminding myself, you know. But
Yeah.
the other thing about alien here, I love that. I love when he says that. He says alien 62 times in the course that
Wow.
yep, we are an alien here. This is not our real home. And what it also reminds me of is like, whenever he says that, like, you must have forgotten, like when we forget the truth, every time we forget the truth and we think we're this body, every time he says that, and of course, that's when we're the alien here, because the one thing that comes to my mind is in chapter 10, section 2, the decision to forget. He says, all attack is self-attack that stems from a decision not to be what you are. So it's that it's believing those thoughts that you were talking about, those attack thoughts. Those attack thoughts are attacking my invulnerability. They're attacking the truth of who I am, and I'm believing them, making them real. I must have forgotten who I am. I'm an alien. I mean, it's crazy, but it's helpful because it just brings us back, reminds us to go back to the right mind and ask, help me see this differently. But I just love the word alien. I think it's great.
It so fits, doesn't it? It's like, when we think of aliens, we think of, these green men from outer space with the big eyes and, the typical cartoon alien. That's us. We're an alien here. We made up a world that we don't come from. And, that's yeah. Thank you, Karen. That's great minds. Listening, that's hysterical. Um, yeah. Others will deny that they are sad and do not recognize their tears at all. Yeah, we can be in complete denial and think, oh no, I'm fine. Don't worry about it. I'm good here. Still, others will maintain that what we speak of is illusion, not to be considered more than but a dream. Yet who in simple honesty, without defensiveness and self-deception, would deny he understands the words we speak? Who's going to deny all this? Rafi, go ahead.
Yeah, it's called suppression. And suppressing their feelings, they're distracting themselves, they're doing other things to entertain themselves and pretend it's not going on. And the releasing thing, we have 9 questions. And one of the best questions is, what's the worst thing that can happen to me right now? And that gets a hold of your deepest subconscious, the stuff that you're pretending isn't there. And you get a hold of that feeling. And then, of course, you just allow it to leave. You release it. But at least you're acknowledging that that fear is there, and you're not suppressing it, you're not distracting yourself, and you're not kidding yourself, because that's all ego crap. And so I just love all of it, because that's it. You just nailed it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's the course calls that denial, and the course would say that process that you were just talking about is bringing the darkness to the light. Nothing can be healed, nothing can be resolved if we're being a bliss ninny, if we're denying that anything is happening. You got to bring the darkness to the light or it can't be healed. We speak today for everyone who walks this world, for he is not at home. He goes uncertainly about in endless search, seeking in darkness what he cannot find, not recognizing what it is he seeks. 1,000 homes he makes, yet none contents his restless mind. He does not understand he builds in vain. The home he seeks cannot be made by him. There is no substitute for heaven. All he ever made was hell. Oh boy, that just reminded me. There's been a lot in the news about Jeff Bezos and his little party that he threw last week or whenever it was. I don't know. I heard about it on some Facebook post. He spent like $50 million on a wedding. and and that's what this is talking about. You can build 1,000 homes. You can try and fill that hole with billions and billions of dollars. And it's never going to fill a thing. It is not going to make you happy because you're not at home, because you haven't been still enough. You've filled everything with money, with houses, with clothes, with drugs and alcohol, with all of the things, with food, with people, with relationships. We try and fill that hole over and over and over again all our lives. 1,000 homes he makes, yet none contents his restless mind. He does not understand he builds in vain. The home he seeks cannot be made by him. There is no substitute for heaven. All he ever made was hell. Perhaps you think it is your childhood home that you would find again. Oh, and I had a talk with somebody the other day. You know, a friend of mine said, yeah, yeah, when we were reading, it was one of my friends that we do the lessons with, and she said, I don't long for my childhood home. It was hell there. We don't even have to look at our childhood home. When we say, oh man, it was so much better in the 50s or 60s or 70s or whenever we were little kids, when we think it was so much better back then, we're trying to find our childhood home. So perhaps you think it is your childhood home that you would find again, the childhood of your body. Yeah. I wouldn't mind having the energy and the and the stuff that I could do back then. The childhood of your body and its place of shelter are a memory now so distorted. And yeah, I'm thinking everything was golden back then. I was I was in an unhappy childhood. I was discontent back then. You The childhood of your body and its place of shelter are a memory now so distorted that you merely hold a picture of a past that never happened. Yet there is a child, and from now on, when I read the word child, it's with a capital C. It's that I am child. It's the Christ child. It's the child that we all are. It's the child of God. So every time I say the word child from here on out, that's the child it's talking about. Yet there is a child in you who seeks his father's house and knows that he is alien here. This childhood is eternal with an innocence that will endure forever. Where this child shall go is holy ground. It is his holiness that lights up heaven and that brings to earth the pure reflection of the light above, wherein are earth and heaven joined as one. That is the I am, that is the Christ child. And when we let go and transcend and become in that holy instant, we are that I am and we are that holy child. It is this child in you your Father knows as his own son. It is this child who knows his Father. He desires to go home so deeply, so unceasingly. His voice cries unto you to let him rest a while. He does not ask for more than just a few instants of respite, just an interval in which he can return to breathe again the holy air that fills his Father's house. You are his home as well. He will return, but give him just a little time to be himself within the peace that is his home, resting in silence and in peace and love. This child, this I am, this I, who we really are, this child needs your protection. He is far from home. He is so little that he seems so easily shut out. Oh gosh, we're almost at time. He is so little that he seems so easily shut out, his tiny voice so readily obscured, his call for help almost unheard amid the grating sounds and harsh and rasping noises of the world. Yet does he know that in you still abides his sure protection. You will fail him not. He will go home, and you along with him. And I'm going to skip down to paragraph 8 because we're getting close to our time here.
Miki, Rev Wayne is not going to be here today, so you could take a little longer.
Okay, I will then. Then I'll go back up to paragraph 7.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And welcome, Bob. It's a new person has joined us, and I'm grateful for that. So anyway, here's the mic back, Mickey.
Hi, Bob. Welcome. This child is your defenselessness, your strength in my defenselessness. I can never be attacked. I am always safe. I am at home. This child is your defenselessness. In my defenselessness, my safety lies. He trusts in you. He came because he knew you would not fail. He whispers of his home unceasingly to you, for he would bring you back with him, that he himself might stay and not return again where he does not belong, and where he lives an outcast in a world of alien thoughts, the world the ego made, the world that we think we're in, the world that does not even exist. His patience has no limits. He will wait until you hear his gentle voice within you, calling you to let him go in peace, along with you, to where he is at home and you with him. When we're still an instant, we can hear that voice. We can hear it calling to us. We are that voice. That is the voice of I am. That is the voice that I am, that we all are. When you are still an instant, when the world recedes from you, when valueless ideas cease to have value in your restless mind, then will you hear his voice. So poignantly he calls to you that you will not resist him longer. In that instant, he will take you to his home, and you will stay with him in perfect stillness, silent and at peace, beyond all words, untouched by fear and doubt, sublimely certain that you are at home. In that holy instant, when we let go of the past and we let go of the future and we rest in God, we are untouched by fears. We are untouched by those desires we talked about. We are safe. We are at home. We are sublimely certain that we are at home. Rest with him frequently today, for he was willing to become a little child that you might learn of him how strong he is who comes without defenses, offering only love's messages to those who think he is their enemy. He holds the might of heaven in his hand and calls them friend, and gives his strength to them that they may see he would be friend to them. He asks that they protect him, for his home is far away, and he will not return to it alone. We can only return when we realize that we are one. We are that I am. We are that I. We're not the little me. Christ is reborn as but a little child each time a wanderer would leave his home, for he must learn that what he would protect is but this child who comes defenseless and who is protected by defenselessness. Go home with him from time to time today. You are as much an alien here as he. Take time today to lay aside your shield, which profits nothing, and lay down the spear and sword you raised against an enemy without existence. Christ has called you friend and brother. He has even come to ask your help in letting him go home today, completed and completely. He has come as does a little child who must beseech his Father for protection and for love. He rules the universe, and yet he asks unceasingly that you return with him and take illusions as your gods no more. You have not lost your innocence. It is for this you yearn. This is your heart's desire. This is the voice you hear, and this the call which cannot be denied. The Holy Child remains with you. His home is yours. Today he gives you his defenselessness, and you accept it in exchange for all the toys of battle you have made. And now the way is open, and the journey has an end in sight at last. Be still an instant, and go home with him, and be at peace a little while. And I thought we'd take one more moment because I want to read the prayer for lesson 268, which is, let all things be exactly as they are. Let me not be your critic, Lord, today and judge against you. Let me not attempt to interfere with your creation and distort it into sickly forms. Let me be willing to withdraw my wishes from this unity and thus to let it be as you created it. For thus will I be able to recognize myself as you created me. In love I was created, and in love I will remain forever. What can frighten me when I let all things be exactly as they are? And it's when we do that and let all things be exactly as they are that we can be still an instant and go home. And I think those two go together so well. And we can all enjoy that holy instant for a minute. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Miki. I do appreciate it. And